It's 5:30. I'll call the Charles City Community School District Board of Education regular meeting to order with roll call vote, please.
Maycumber.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Dyke.
Here.
Freund absent. Matt.
Here.
Tillman.
Here.
Reading of the district mission statement and core values by Director Walker.
Our mission is to engage, inspire, and empower students and staff in order to maximize learning. Our district core values are best for all kids, family, committed leaders, passionate, and invitational.
Agenda item number 3, approval of agenda. Is there any revisions or changes, additions?
There are none.
All right.
Motion to approve the agenda is presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, I'd like to welcome the public at this time for public comment. If there's anything that isn't on the agenda, at this time you may step to the mic and speak. Agenda item number 5, comments by board members and superintendent. Superintendent Walker.
Yeah, absolutely. In board goal 1, in terms of professional learning, I was very blessed to, the board allowed me to go to Human Resources and Human Capital Training in Chicago for 3 days last week. I'll have a full presentation for the board later next month as we get into presentations, but just an outstanding opportunity to learn about all the best practice strategies for human capital in terms of recruiting, retention, making sure we're compliant with law, and retaining people through culture and climate. Just, wow, it was really overwhelming because they said there'd be 3 to 5 years worth of work in that 3 days, and there very much is, so I can't wait to get engaged in that work. Also, we had, I think, an outstanding professional learning session with our teachers a week ago Monday, and where we had a book study on Help for Billy, which I know several board members have, in conjunction with our trauma-informed instruction work, and it's really helping to make our staff more empathetic. It had staff leaders across the district leading small groups, and everything from paraeducators to certified teachers to counselors leading that small group was outstanding. Board Superintendent Goal 2 of Culture and Climate. Really proud of the work that our staff is doing in developing a team leader system. So we have groups of team leaders, teacher leaders that are going out and ensuring every staff member receives span of care, which is a way to say that we're taking care of people's emotional and needs as teachers, and nobody gets left behind. Really meeting our family mentality and really working on distributed leadership. And we've been doing a lot of tremendous work with that. Still a work in progress, but really proud of our teams on that. And I really want to congratulate Amanda Rodmilla for being named Cross Country Girls Coach of the Year. So that's a really outstanding thing. Just want to make sure, a lot of stuff on social media, but put that on public record. And finally, Board Superintendent Goal 3, infrastructure and facilities. Basketball courts are getting finished up. They're finished at Lincoln. I just got to get the hoops back up, and we are darn close to having them here done at the middle school. We got one more strip to pour. It got really cold, so we're trying to get that finished out. If bad luck and doesn't work out, the weather doesn't change, we'll finish it in the spring, but it is almost all the way there. And finally, the ICAT study is in. The comprehensive facility study is really happy about that. That's out to the board members right now. Take a look at that, but really working on it with Jerry Mitchell, Director of Operations, setting a 3 to 5 year strategic facilities plan. So that's what's going on in the district.
Any additional comments, board members? Cinderella?
Cinderella was awesome. Somehow I ended up at all 3 performances, and it was just great. Really enjoyed watching everyone and hearing them sing, and our drama department and music program are doing great things, so thank you.
Any other additional comments? We head off to school board convention this week. Tomorrow evening, with meetings starting Wednesday morning through Thursday and Friday. I stay till Friday. So looking forward to the learning that we'll be doing this week there. Agenda item number 6, committee reports. I don't think there are any this month. So we'll move on to agenda item 9, legislative updates. This is an information item. House Representative Todd Pritchard will provide an update of the legislative session. Todd, you're up.
We're going to sit for
Stand.
All right.
To the mic so I can hear you.
Do you hear me now? All right. Well,
Good evening, State Representative Todd Pritchard. I prepared some remarks, which is extremely rare for me, but I'm going to share a few remarks for you, with you, and I assume that maybe there'll be a question and answer session after I'm done. So, thank you for inviting me to speak to the board this evening. It's always a pleasure to be in front of the Charles City Board. I'm honored to be starting my 4th term in the Iowa House of Representatives. I challenged write-in candidate to a debate, but that person never showed, so you're stuck with me for another 2 years. Thank you very much. It's been an interesting experience serving in the legislature over the last 6 years. So this current term will be my 4th term, and then it'll be years 7 and 8, my 7th and 8th session, starting January 11th. I'm sure that all of you have seen that there has been no change in the makeup or control in the State House. The Republicans expanded their majority in the Senate, I think by 3 seats, and they kept their majority and retained control in the House, although that did narrow. I expect that it's going to be 46 or 47. There's a recount issue in Decorah in northeast Iowa, so not far from here. And so it's very likely that the makeup of the House will be 47 Democrats and then 53 Republicans, which would be a retention of the majority control. And then, of course, Governor Reynolds was reelected for her 1st term in her own right. So I do not expect much change in policy or education initiatives, things that would affect your board's prerogatives. I don't see a different approach. I don't see really much of a change from what we've seen in the last 2 years with the prior control with the Republican majorities and Governor Reynolds. To me, that is a bit disconcerting because it's been a challenge for school funding. Governor Reynolds campaigned primarily on tax cuts, which if we can afford them, they're great. But tax cuts almost necessarily mean, particularly when we have tight budgets as we do now, they necessarily mean programming cuts. And with education funding being approximately 60% of the state's budget, if you're looking to make cuts, it's pretty hard to overlook 60% of the pie with education. So that's potentially something I'll be concerned with and obviously advocating against. We need to retain. I think we've been underfunding, particularly Regents and K-12 the last few years, and I'm not hopeful that will reverse, but I think hopefully we can at least maintain the level of funding that we're at. Personally, for Representative Todd Pritchard's education agenda, I've had some success last year with a lunch shaming bill. We were able to pass a bipartisan bill that deals with lunch shaming. And this is basically children that come to school may not have money on their account. And there's issues locally and across the state in the past, in this part of the state and other parts of the state, where children have been ostracized. They've been identified publicly as having insufficient funds. There's some reports in some school districts with children being stamped with a stamp on their hand that says insufficient funds. I find that personally, that strikes me as very insulting. And the legislation hopes to change that, hope to expand on those efforts so that we're making the schoolhouse a place where everyone feels that they can learn and that they're treated, they're not, they come in as citizens, not so much as insufficient funds. Also hope to expand job training opportunities for graduating students in Iowa. This is something that Governor Reynolds did campaign on, and I think she can find a lot of bipartisan support for job training programs. In Iowa, our community college system is outstanding. Unfortunately, many 12K programs and districts have failed to find synergy and integrate programming to meet local and regional labor needs. And this is something that I see school boards across the state, some do well, a few do well, many do not do well or at all. And of the 14 school districts that I represent, this being one, I think it could be better in pretty much all 14, that we could find ways to work with not only the community colleges. I notice you've got a member of, an employee of our community college here on your board with Mr. Mack, but not only working with community colleges to provide a job training program that's both relevant and needed, and if not critical in the local labor markets, but also working with private employers who I can tell you are very willing partners if asked and if they see the opportunity, which is it's clearly there. In the past, I have attempted to encourage public-private partnerships between local employers and our 3 community colleges and local school districts. I would urge you, as both a community member and a state leader, to find ways to integrate these programs with regional partners with the community college level. I really think that districts that are not finding those partnerships, are not looking for that programming, are missing a boat, and they're putting their community at risk on a long-term basis. Because the jobs of the future are going to require much more than a high school education. They're going to require skills that the community colleges, quite frankly, are doing the best job of really anybody of providing in the marketplace to the labor market. Finally, I want to welcome Superintendent Mike Fisher. It's been a pleasure to get to know you over the last few months. Your energy and enthusiasm is evident, if not contagious. So welcome to Charles City, and I look forward to working with not only Mr. Fisher, but with all of you as I have in the past. So that concludes my prepared remarks. If you all have any questions for me, I'm very glad to entertain those.
What, we always go in with these high hopes of everything. What's something realistic you see coming out that's going to be a positive for us?
In terms of school districts?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be on the funding front. We ended last session in the red from a budgetary standpoint. And as we moved into the fall, for reasons I don't quite understand, the budget now shows in the black. And I think some of that can be accounted or attributed to with the federal changes in the income tax structure and the state lagging behind that, collections are a little bit more robust. We are we're basically in a full employment or a labor shortage. Everybody has jobs, everybody's paying income taxes, which is great. The tax changes that were passed last session are going to be implemented in tax year 19, so we'll be dealing with those. That's going to have a budgetary effect. When you change revenue streams, when you decrease revenue streams, you necessarily have an impact on the budget. And so I don't see allowable growth being robust. If you asked me to do a prediction, I don't know what it would be, but it'd probably be something under 2%. I don't see a lot of money available for schools. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong in a way, because hopefully revenues will exceed my expectations, but I just don't see that. So I think the opportunities, if I were to advocate for, if I was an advocate for education, and I am, but I think the opportunities I would see would be with policy. There's been talk about doing things with mental health in the schools. There's been talk about, and that's a great initiative, some of the reading programs and some of the job training programs. During the campaign cycle, both sides, both governors' candidates love to talk about job training. Can't talk about job training enough. That's a bipartisan issue that can find support amongst anybody in the State House. And like I said in my comments, we're not doing enough of that in this state. Mm-hmm. If we're not preparing for the jobs that are here in Iowa that are plentiful, we're not preparing our students for appropriately, in my humble opinion. So I would look for policy initiatives more so than I would look for funding. Just don't think it's going to be there.
Yeah. Thanks.
What do you think about the SAVE option? Do you think they'll look at that, or will that lie dormant again for another?
Right. Those, I think in a lot of ways that discussion is going to start again.
Okay.
That discussion was tied into some of the water quality discussions that we had. particularly in 17, in the 2017 session. Nothing came forward when the water bill came forward in January and it was passed and signed. SAVE really wasn't attached to it anymore, so that discussion is really going to have to start again. I can tell you, I mean, from my side of the aisle, there's an appetite to extend it. I realize, and I think many of my colleagues, and not just Democrat, Republican, but I think a lot realize it's got to happen. It's one of those things, though. I've said this with other issues, with other governors. The governor's going to have to lead on this, and the governor's going to have to show a willingness, particularly with something with SAVE, which invites controversy in a lot of ways because you're dealing with taxing issues. So the governor's going to have to show direction of what she's willing to do. So hopefully that will happen.
And hopefully she'll see that it is a form of tax relief.
Well, potentially. Depends on how you look at it. It depends on your perspective. And that lies in the controversy.
I just received this week the 2019 the IASB legislative priorities, and this year their priorities are the mental health, of course, school funding, supplemental state aid, and then the SAVE. That's their four. So we know 2 of them have a chance, then basically, right, of having something maybe possibly this year.
Well, I think one thing that was clear, if you read the campaign literature and you kind of pay attention to what candidates for not just the governor's race but down ballot, a lot of people are understanding that the mental health issue is a big issue, and it's affecting people of all walks of life. I think the statistics show about 20% of all individuals at some point will have to deal with mental health personally with their own health. And this is an issue that touches a lot of people across a lot of demographics. So,
Well, Representative Pritchard, thank you for coming
I
and
was
talking to us.
told I wasn't going to take any questions from Mr. Mayor. But, all right.
We're very
What's up?
fortunate to have you represent our district. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I had a couple quick questions. You mentioned some synergy between the community colleges and the K-12, specifically in the high school area. The Iowa Big North program that we have, do you see that as a benefit and something that the governor could get behind as an idea to evolve change and bring some of that together across the state?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that's kind of a foundational block in partnership that needs to lead to other partnerships. And, I've learned a lot about this district as a rural district the last 6 years. And, has anybody ever heard of declining enrollments?
Yeah.
Is that an issue that we've discussed? It's something that's affecting all rural areas. I was very pleased to see that you had a net gain this year. That's very positive. But I don't know if you feel that you can bank on that every year. And so these programs that we need to offer in rural Iowa are expensive. And I see the only way to really do that is there has to be cost sharing, there has to be shared programs, there has to be this synergy between school districts to deliver these programs that are one, needed, but two, expensive. And I think if as a rural district, if you're not looking for those types of opportunities, you're missing an opportunity, you're missing the boat. And you're in danger of losing students and seeing families vote with their feet, as they say, and go to districts that do offer those types of programs. So I think, when the Iowa Big is, I think it's critical, it's important, it's a good start. It would be something that I would recommend you capitalize on. You continue to capitalize with those partnerships. You continue to use those partnerships in different and innovative ways that bring value to the district, bring value to this part of the state. I think 4 years ago, I invited all the major employers that I could think of in the Charles City area. And we basically had a listening session. I had about 10 employers representing probably over 1,000 jobs in Floyd County. And every one of them, to every business, every single business, wanted more opportunities to have internships, to have job training programs, to have ways to bring students into their facility, to let them know and understand what they do in their facility, and help create an employee pipeline. And the benefits of that are really manyfold, because you can bring local students into a high-quality job right here in our own industrial park. They don't have to go away. They don't have to leave the community. We don't have to educate them and then watch them make a living and raise a family in another part of the country or state. You can find good, high-quality jobs here. We have them. And I can tell you from that experience, the employers are wanting to partner. I can tell you that in my small business. Employers, particularly in this economy, I think the biggest challenge that many employers have is finding and retaining the right workforce. And if you can find those ways to assist those private employers in this community with that, you'll be a hero, and they'll be very interested in partnering with you.
Is there any appetite on either side of the aisle or with the governor's office to offer some tax credit incentives for businesses who are interested in partnering? You know, I know that there are the big names ones that they do.
And that's not a new idea either.
Okay.
There have been funded programs for internships and credits, I think, associated with that. Yeah, I think there has been an appetite for that, and there can be.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
One of the state programs that was benefiting Charles City has now been cut with the partnership with the School for the Blind and the Deaf situation.
Right.
That we had the starting of the program here, and then for various reasons did not seem to work out, and the legislature took away the funding for that. Have you heard of or thought of anything that we could potentially see that resurface again in the future?
That issue, I was not happy the way that issue unfolded. I think that was a good program that was not given a shot by two factors. One, funding for the regions, as you're probably aware. The School for the Deaf is funded and it's managed underneath the regions, just like UNI, just like Iowa State, just like the University of Iowa. It's a part of the regions. It's a regents institution. The funding in that project went away because the project was undersubscribed. And the reason that the project was undersubscribed, I think, has a lot to do with some institutional roadblocks that other interests, I'll put this politely, I think some people didn't want to see that work. And to me, that's very disappointing. That was a missed opportunity not only for Charles City and for this district and for the people in this district, in this community. There's a missed opportunity for the people that it was attempting to serve. I have not given up hope, and I have not forgotten about that program, and I would like to find a way to resurrect that. That's much easier said than done. It's unfortunate that program didn't survive. That was beyond disappointing. And so in my mind, I have not forgotten that program is not dead.
Well, and you and I and others have had conversations about that program last spring when we found out that it wasn't going to be funded. And I just wanted to take the opportunity in public to ask about it and reconfirm mine and hopefully the board's and the community's desire to see if we couldn't find a way to resurrect that program somehow, some way.
Yeah. I know, I don't want to speak for Senator Brown, but that's something he and I talked quite a bit about, and I think he, like me, was not happy to see that program discontinued.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that question. That's good.
Again, we want to thank you for taking time. coming
My
and speaking
pleasure.
to us, and for your representation. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Agenda item 10, Retrieving Freedom Foster Dog. This is a presentation. Invite Jill to come forward. I'll go and have you step to the mic and introduce yourselves, please. And the puppies, too.
All right. I'm Janae Noonan. I'm one of your high school Spanish teachers. And this is Chad Johnson. He is with Retrieving Freedom. And we're here after a couple months of working on how having a service dog in training could function in our classrooms here at Charles City. Want to tell them a little bit about Retrieving Freedom?
Yes, absolutely. Can you guys hear me? Yes. Good? I could probably use it without it, right?
We have that so that we're recording it for TV.
Oh, okay,
and so
sorry.
they can- yes,
Okay, I will
watch it.
try to use the mic as much as possible. So my name is Chad Johnson, actually assistant dog trainer with Retrieving Freedom. I've been with Retrieving Freedom since the organization started. I'm actually a recipient, I'm a veteran myself. Received Bender as my service dog. Bender, no, down. We train service dogs for veterans with PTSD, TBI, and physical disabilities. Also children with autism. It's been a growing rate, children with autism being diagnosed from an early stage of like 3 to 4 years of age. Veterans are getting diagnosed from coming from overseas and deployed at an alarming rate with TBI and PTSD. Rocky is actually in training to be a service dog for either a veteran or a child with autism. The program that we have in place at Return of Freedom is with the local teachers around our Cedar Valley area right now in the Waverly area. We do have some in different school districts besides Waverly now. We have grown into about 8 or 9, and I got those right here. Like letting you know that how many we got in play. So I've got West Cedar. I've got 2 teachers there. Right now they've been have about courting about 5 or 6 dogs already in the school. That's about 5 or 6 years we've done this. We also have Pam Taylor, St. Paul's School. We also have Orchard Hill, West Cedar, Cedar Heights. We have a Lead Center. So Lead Center, LSI, Lutheran Services in Iowa. We actually have a school there called the Lead Center, and we actually have one there that's been very helpful for the program with behavior, with the kids changing their behavior, make sure they're motivated to stay out of intervention, and that's the reward is to walk around with a dog or pet the dog or work on tasks with the dog, do some training with them. Also, I have a program with the LSI where during the summertime I have about 12 students that are from 15 to 17 years of age. These are troubled teenagers that work with these dogs during a summer program. Also, I had one in Jessup and also one now in North Butler. So we have them pretty much all over the place. And we would like to see about implementing Charles City into this. What's actually really beneficial about this is that we just had an applicant that was actually from your local town that looking to reach out for a service dog to help them with a child. So we actually have the dogs get raised up in foster homes from 8 weeks to 9 to 10 months of age, come back to Retrieving Freedom, and they go through other programs. We have Wartburg College, local in Waverly. We have about 15, 18 of those students that come during fall, winter, and May term, 3 different terms, and work with those dogs. And then a lot of those dogs we get implemented to school. So we can get them socialized for veterans that go to college, also children that also may have the social anxiety, the sensory disorder where the loud noises bother them, they're bolting. We need to get these dogs used to a classroom because transitioning for these children with autism, going from one class to another class or going from one environment to the next environment is very troubling. It takes a lot for them. And they're not getting a lot of their education
that they need, because just in that transition, it takes them all day just to get them pretty much settled down. And that's where the dog comes in and helps. There's a lot of things that in the school that the dog can help. Janae, I always say your name wrong. I've got so many teachers. Sorry. Is going to explain how she's going to be able to use the dog in her classroom to benefit the kids here. I do have a lot of other things that can help and benefit these kids. We do have a reading program in other schools. I just heard kind of talk about reading programs or something that have been a big need. Funding is not there. We're a nonprofit and it doesn't cost you guys anything for us to be here. So far as to be here, isn't it cost you a cent? We go through with our teachers to get grants, mental health. We work with these dogs for PTSD. There's a mental health for veterans. There's mental health also for our kids that need that too. And that's where we can use these. I actually have one of the teachers that is actually a counselor and uses the dog for counseling. So again, all of that again, I see there's some that trouble and that programs you're looking for, and also budgeting, it's not cost you a thing. So how she's able to use the dog, and she's gonna let you know.
Short person. So as far as Rocky specifically in a Spanish classroom, the biggest struggle in Spanish is getting students to speak the language. There's so much intimidation there about, making mistakes, things like that. And Rocky is a non-judgmental listener. So kids are going to want to talk to the dog. He's not going to make fun of them. There's nothing, nothing can go wrong there. And then in addition with that, kind of the biggest piece for me is that when I interviewed here, one of the questions asked, and it was probably my favorite question, is what do you want to do besides Spanish teacher? How do you make yourself more involved in the community? How do you make that impact bigger? And it was a very natural reach for me to go to Retrieving Freedom to try to make that connection. I've been working with Rocky for a year, and he's 2. He's about done. He has spent hundreds of hours with me and thousands of hours in training, and getting to have my students see how important volunteering is, and that disabilities are not necessarily something that you can always see, especially when the mind of a teenager is very much me. Learning how to see what's going on with others. And it was kind of neat that we had our Veterans Assembly today. I was just thinking how it was so great for us to know, here's our veterans, but our students would have no idea who has PTSD, how to pick that out, and what that means as for how do you interact with someone that has that, or autism. And then the other piece would be that there's going to come a day when we have a service dog with a student. When I took Rocky to a football game here, students are used to seeing dog, pet. So they're coming up to me wanting to pet Rocky and just getting to do that training on, this is a service dog, right now he's working, getting to kind of do that training before we have a student with autism who has to teach students. That would probably not be ideal, so getting to have that kind of done as a preparation for that day.
Excellent. Never thought of that aspect of it too, that there is a certain amount of training because it is something new to the students too. That needs to happen too, so that it can be most effective.
Yeah, so for one thing is that for our recipients, they actually have to do 100 hours of training with us at our facility. Recipients, so children with autism or the veteran, are doing 100 hours with us. Where our facility has rooms, so that if we're a nationwide program, they come stay, no cost. Doesn't cost them anything to stay at our building, to go through training. We get those all coordinated in the schedule to make sure, we're working the veterans or the children with autism on certain different days, and they also have 100 hours they have to do outside of this, our facility, and work with those. And also, the one thing that we actually have implemented now, that our dog that we think the temperament is going to go towards autism. We just never know. A lot of times, some of our dogs that have been in the school have gone to veterans. And so one biggest thing is Cedar Heights. We actually had a dog that was raised as a pup with a teacher, gone into school at kindergarten, and luckily she didn't know this. The teacher is that there was some students that actually go into that school, and their dad actually got placed with that dog. And it's one of those things that we didn't know it was going to work that way, and it ended up being that got placed. And dog was a veteran. Now they're not always going to end up that way but that's where our job is, to make sure that we find the right dog to go into a school system, get that semester, at least one semester with the teacher, so that way we can get them ready for a classroom when they get placed with a child with autism. Same thing with our Wartburg College. We got a lot of veterans are going to go to college and those kind of things. So that's why we want to make sure the dog's ready for college life too. So that's really good for our Wartburg students to be able to take those dogs out, get them socialized with that kind of environment. We got to get them in environments and socialize as much as we can, because we can't do it all, but that's where our volunteers and these programs are very helpful. That way we can help our community, but then we're helping our veterans and our children with autism. So I just don't know if you guys had any questions, concerns about our program or how we operate. One thing is that I do come to the classroom when the dog does come in. I do assemblies with the school to notify, let them know the whole staff, faculty, everybody, how that a dog is and what they're doing inside the classroom, or you're going to see them in the hallways, how to approach it. Also, I come in and do training with them inside the classroom. So I come in, and again, I'm telling you, this doesn't cost you nothing. So budgeting-wise, we do grants to try to cover all of this. And I'll just come in and I'll work with the teacher, work with the dog to see how they're doing. They have reports they have to fill out, and also their hours of what they're doing with the dog. They do take the dog home on weekends, so they take it to their house, work with that dog, and then also get them ready to go for school when they come to the school. So, any questions you guys would have about our program, Training Freedom?
I have a couple. Chad, first, Thank you so much for your service. We greatly appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
I think you have a really exciting program, and it looks awesome. I'm really excited and hope that we support this. I think it's a great idea, and I think it'd be really good for our students. As we just talked earlier, mental health is a growing issue here, and I think this would be an opportunity for us to do what we can to help this current situation. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Janae, this is a great idea.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you. One thing that also with that is that I was hearing something about job opportunities, job shadowing, those kind of things. We have had several students from the different area school districts that come and job shadowed at our facility, cleaning kennels, cleaning dishes of the food bowls and those kind of things, going through and working with the dog, we're training, maybe picking up the poop yard and all those different things that are not fun too, but there is also the fun time where they can, be able to spend time with that dog and get relaxed. And, a lot of times when a dog's there, especially with these LSI students that we're working with, a lot of them come out and do job shadowing and do some volunteering, and helps them to get a responsibility. But also they have this dog that they can open up and talk, because they're great listeners. They don't talk back. They don't interrupt you. They'll just listen. They just got big ears, and that's what they're for. So, any other questions?
Do you have a large list of dogs that you're looking to place, or are you pretty put them waiting for the dogs? Which way is it?
So how our program works, it's pretty. The dog is, we find the right match for the right individual, and through that process we'll work several different dogs with them. If they apply, we'll try to get them first, but as much as they can come out and work with us with those dogs, and we roughly have about 18 dogs at our facility at one time that are actually in full-time training. Now we have approximately about 75 to 80 dogs in training right now, and these are all in different stages. Either they're stage 1, which is they're being puppy fostered, or stage 2, which they're in full-time training with our programs, teachers, Wartburg students, LSI students. Also, we actually started a prison program in IMCC in Coralville. where we actually have prisoners that are working with those dogs too. We got 7 puppies actually in there working with them, and it's going very well. They go on home, weekend home for fostering to get socialized to Walmart because those prisoners can't do that. But they get a lot of that instruction, training, basic obedience with those dogs. And we come there once a week. We also started our Iowa State program with animal science. We have 4 puppies in there that just started that. So they're doing a full time from 8 weeks all the way to about 18 months. And we see them every other week just to go training with them. They fill out reports and we see how those are going too. But again, down to that where you talk about how we get them placed with our individuals, it's just depending on, which is the right match. And that's why we work several dogs with them to see which one is going to be the right match. Sometimes we're higher on the autism side. We got more recipients that are looking for autism, and we might not have that need with the dogs. And we have to really make sure and let them know it is about a year to 2 years out that you could probably get placed with a dog. But as long as they're coming out and being actively with us and working with us, we'll definitely find the right fit dog for them. So it's kind of really hard to tell you on the, so far as the number wise.
No, that is excellent information. Thank you, that did answer my question, That's awesome. Are there any other additional comments?
I just think it's a great program, great idea. I'm happy that you're bringing it here, so.
And Janae, thank you for your incentive. I'm sure you took the incentive then to make this happen, so.
Oh, I would tell you, sorry, I'll tell you what, I've been getting emails like 7-8 times a day. She's been very active in this role to get this done.
Thank you for your
And I think
persistence.
that with her persistence, she's going to be a very great advocate to our teacher program. Because we are expanding this program out. We started out with 2 teachers, and we've now gone into probably about 8 to 10 teachers to this program, and we're still continuing. And actually, matter of fact, we've got 2 other locations. Just a little history on Retrieving Freedom. We have another location in Mississippi, and then we have a location in Waverly, Iowa. We have one that we just got the property signed over to us. We'll be breaking ground hopefully sometime this year in Sedalia, Missouri. That's going to be our headquarters. And with that, we're going to transfer all these programs that we have here at Waverly that started in Iowa. We're going to transfer them to our other locations and keep them continuing going on. And then with that, we're a nationwide program, so we help all over the place. We just, hopefully tomorrow, sometime, we will get our official notice of our accreditation. We just had our assessor come out and look at our building, and they assessed us. It's Assistant Dog International, and it's accreditation. So all these different service dog organizations get assessed through this big, huge accreditation. It's been a big, huge process. And we will have all that go to the board. The assessors approved us. Now we're just waiting for that board to say, we're good to go, here's your paperwork, and we will be accredited organization.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Agenda item 11, cross-country trip presentation. Coaches Ryan and Amanda Rodmilla and cross-country students will present information and learning experiences during their summer 2018 trip to Colorado.
All right, he's getting pictures set up. So I'm Amanda Rodmilla, the head girls cross country coach for the past 6 years. My husband has been coaching, I think this was his 15th or 16th year for the boys program. We started this back in 2010, so this was our 5th trip out there this year. We go every other year. This year we had 16 girls and 30 boys for a total of 46 kids. And then we also had 2 chaperones that came along with the 2 of us. Yeah. So we sent you out some photos from our trip, but we use it as kind of a team building experience, kind of a, before the season really starts, kind of a kickoff to get to know each other a little bit. We keep in contact with them over the summer, but kind of in a different setting. We do some running out there, just a lot of kind of activities, some goal setting where we kind of have individual one-on-one meetings. But it's just a great always start to our season, and I most look forward to having the people that have never seen mountains before or anything like this. We got to take some students along this year who have been through some rough times. We had one student who had never actually left the state before, and so to see her get to go out there was just awesome. And so that's kind of my takeaway from the trip. So I'll let my husband speak a little bit, and then we have a few athletes with us that went along this time.
Thank you.
Ryan Rodmilla, boys cross country. I think she said everything that needs to be said here. It's just a great opportunity for us to get to spend some time with the cross country athletes out of your normal setting. We feel really good about the place that we go. We go to the YMCA of the Rockies in Estes Park, so it's students have kind of the ability to be in a safe location. It's about 60 acres, roughly kind of the size of like a Wartburg type campus. It's got activities for the kids to do when we have some free time. It's got facilities when we want to be able to meet. It's got a dining facility where they eat 3 meals a day, basically as much as they want to eat. Cross-country kids eat as much as they can. And then we just have access to the national park, just right outside. And I think that that's kind of special. I grew up in a family. I was fortunate enough that we went to national parks. That was our vacations, and so I kind of grew up going out to Rocky Mountain National Park, and so this year we were able to take a couple runs up into the park in the early morning, which is really cool. It was cold, crisp in August, and so we got to do some of those things. We went to some ranger programs. We took the kids up to 12,000 feet, as you saw in there. That's up on Trail Ridge Road. It's the highest paved road in the country. And experienced that. We always take a charter bus out from Cavalier coaches out of Mason City, and they do a great job for us. What's kind of special about taking the bus is the ability to be able to have that panoramic view, basically, as you're going out there. So it was a pretty neat trip. We got to see some wildlife this time. And it was a spectacular group of young men and women. It was just, we were kind of blown away by how easy this was. So to take 46 along speaks to our chaperones, Steve and Lori Litter. Steve provided us some music around the campfire one night. That was great. I got to take Caleb Ozier fishing one day down in the park, so that was really neat. We got to do some runs up there in the park. You don't get any better view than that. And they've got some nice facilities to enable us to do that. Typically when we're out there, we end up seeing a couple of other cross-country teams from Iowa. It's pretty common for us to see like Dyke New Hartford or Dowling. Some years we didn't see Dowling this year, and then the last night we usually do some reflection. So it's a fun trip. It's cozy. It's safe to us. And I think that the kids get a lot out of it, and it's just a great way to kickstart the school year or the cross country year. So I'll let these guys come up here. We just asked them to talk a little bit about the trip and some of the things they'll take away from it.
I'm Cole Reams. This was my first year going to Colorado, but my third year altogether. I had the choice to go out my sophomore year, but I did not take that. First year cross country, I kind of thought I wouldn't get into it, but I did end up getting into it. Who knew running would be fun? But this year, actually I'll go back to last year, our team got along very well. So I know my junior year, I'm a senior. My junior year, we were all looking forward to going to Colorado. We were always talking about it, and I know I brought it up to Coach Rodmilla probably 2 or 3 times. But we went out this year, and we had a blast. I think last night I was going through pictures of what I took, because if I had the choice to go back, I totally would do it again. I guess going out there with my team and coaches was probably the best thing ever. Doing more team bonding. I mean, we had lots of opportunities. We went hiking. I think we were supposed to go on like a 6-mile hike, 5-mile, but it turned into like an 8-mile hike because we just got lost kind of, but that's okay. But other than that, did some reflections. We played Gaga ball probably 75% of the time we were there. Just the experience going up 12,005 foot was awesome. And also going and representing Donate Life. When we went shopping, we had people asking like, where are you guys from? What's the Donate Life on your shirt? So we got to tell the story there too, which was also a memory. So, yeah.
Excellent. Very good.
I'm Olivia McKeag. I'm a sophomore. It's my third year for cross country, so it was my first Colorado trip, and I'm super excited to go again. We had a lot of team bonding at the time, and even the time that we weren't, so we didn't have to be together, we were always still together. Like Cole said, we played Gaga ball a lot, and it was like our whole team, and we had a bunch of other people that we didn't even know come play with us. So it was really cool to meet other people too that weren't part of our team, but we made them a part of it just for that week. It was really cool because I talked to a lot of people on the team that I don't usually talk to, because we did a icebreaker activity with Coach, and she paired us up with someone that we don't usually talk to, and we just had a half an hour to just talk to them. And then we did a lot of just one-on-one stuff with other teammates. So it was really cool to get to do that.
Excellent. Thank you.
So I'm Gillian Anderson. I'm also a sophomore, and this is my 4th year of cross country. And the Colorado trip was just super, super fun. And I don't think I've ever had a harder run than the first night we got there. Coach was like, okay, we're going to run 30 minutes. And I don't think I've ever experienced a harder run. But it got easier, and I feel like it really benefited us when we came back, because we had already run in something so much harder than just Iowa, no elevation. So, and the team bonding was just really fun, and we played lots of games, and that night was really, really cool because we set goals for ourselves and as a team, and it was just cool to hear everyone's thoughts and reflections on the trip. And yeah, it was just really, really fun.
There's a couple other pictures on there I guess I meant to mention. We usually try to do something a little bit unique and just out of the ordinary. We when we come into town, we take them to the Stanley Hotel, which is where Stephen King wrote The Shining. So that's kind of a fun little side trip that we've done in addition to some of the other things as well.
Yeah, we've done yoga the last 2 years. You saw some pictures from that. There's a instructor that's from someplace in town in Estes Park, and then she does 2 days a week out at the Y. She remembered us actually from 2 years ago, and so she was super excited that we were back, and we had to move locations because we're filling the room with so many kids. So we did that. The trails this year, the hikes were new. We'd never stayed at the Y before. Wasn't on the plan. Our bus actually had some issues on the way out and on the way back. So our bus driver had to go take care of that, so we were kind of stranded at the Y, but like we said, they made the best of it. We got to see some new things that we hadn't before, and kind of enjoy it right there from the campus. You guys have any questions for us?
It's an excellent presentation.
Yeah. What is, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what is Gaga ball?
Okay, so maybe Coach can find a picture, but there's 2 Gaga ball pit. It's an octagon, and it was filled with dirt. Right there. Okay. So you see lots of people standing on the side like me. That's when you get out. So the point of the game is they got one ball, and there's 15 people that stand on the outside. When the ball hits the ground, then you go, and the ball cannot hit your legs. If the ball hits your legs, you're out. So you have to block the ball with your arms and hit the ball with your arms, and if the ball touches your leg, you're out. And then you stand along the side, and if somebody hits the ball and gets it in the air like I always manage to do, and somebody along the outside caught it, the person that hit it would be out, and the person that caught it would be back in. So we played this game so much that coming back, we were like, we have to get one of these pits at somewhere because this is what we're going to do the whole summer. So
And it sounds like a pretty mild game, but it got bigger than yours.
it's intense. It's an intense game. So you guys should try it. Hopefully we can get a pit sometime soon because that's where we'll all be at. So
Well, I think if we can get to pits, we'll watch you play
But
it.
yes, we'll watch it.
that sounds like a plan.
Very cool. Well, it sounds like a fantastic trip, so
Yep.
thank you for doing that. I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Awesome trip.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 13, results of the union recertification, or excuse me, agenda item 12, American Education Week 2018.
It is American Education Week, of the 12th through the 16th, so today is opening day. This is sponsored by the National Education Association, and it's just a week where all aspects of education are celebrated, and it's also a great advocacy week. We can celebrate public education. Today's the kickoff day. There's also days throughout the week where we'll celebrate substitute teachers, celebrate parents, celebrate all educators, and I believe Tuesday, I'd have to look it up, was a support professional day. So I know there's been some activities planned by our staff throughout the week just to celebrate that, but just to again highlight, especially in today's political climate, we need to continue to advocate about the importance and how special public education is. So we just appreciate this happening this week, so 12th through the 16th.
Thank you. Agenda item 13, results of the union recertifications.
So recently, as a change in Chapter 20 happened with the legislative session a few years ago, it is now anytime a contract comes up that the union certification has to be recertified through a vote of its membership. And we have 3 association memberships that were ratified through a vote of its membership. So the Charles City Community Education Association, which would be your certified teachers, Charles City Community School District Education Services Association, which would be your support personnel, and Charles City Community School District Education Services Association, which is collectively known as the blue-collar maintenance employees. So that was part of the board agenda, but through PERB, which is a Public Employee Relations Board, they did recertify it, so they still represent our membership.
Agenda item number 14, second reading of board policy 401.7 employee travel compensation.
Motion to approve the second reading of board policy number 401.7, employee travel compensation as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the second reading of board policy number 401.7 employee travel compensation as presented. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 15, Project Rise online fundraising campaign.
I know there was also some exhibits on here, but I had talked to Dan Caffrey, who's with our juvenile court liaison and does our Project Rise, which is an outstanding program, and just requesting approval to begin this online fundraising campaign. And what it is they're finding needy students within our schools and then doing kind of like, and I'm not as hip to some of the online platforms, but more like a crowdfunding type thing where some of the things that we do maybe more traditionally, they found ways to do virtually, but it sounds like a really cool thing. It's really student driven. Want to support them with that, but again, it's another way, especially when we get the holiday season, to better support some of the needs of our students. So I know the exhibit has the specifics on that, but it has my recommendation for approval. I think it's a great thing for kids and families.
Excellent. This is an action item.
I'll agree. I will move to approve the Project Rise online fundraising campaign as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the Project Rise online fundraising campaign as presented. Any other additions, questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 16, financial report for October 2018.
We have a equipment sale on Saturday. They're going to sell some of the obsolete, really old, some even probably antique kind of equipment out of the shop area. So Cedar Valley Realty and Auction Company is the one that's going to be leading that, and I mean, they're basically in charge with, Jim will be there then that day as well, so.
Excellent.
And Terry, could I clarify on that? We
Yeah.
had some questions also within the community about the nature of the auction, and we've been really trusting our career technical education staff, especially with the Jim Lundberg taking point. And we had found some machines within our shop area that actually came to us because they were being replaced in the late 60s by the Oliver tractor plant. You'll notice I said Oliver, and it wasn't even White Tractor at that point. So they replaced them, and then White Tractor Oliver had found new machines. So some of this equipment was absolutely, as Terry said, from even the 40s. We're looking now replacing equipment that actually will be more manageable for the platforms they need to be working on, because these are not machines they'd be working on in a John Deere plant or a plant near here. So we want to make sure our equipment meets the needs of our employers and future employees.
Thank you.
The only other comment I had was our athletic complex balance is up to $322,000.
Oh, excellent.
Terry, is that with match or no match?
That's
That is
with
with
match.
Okay.
Excellent. Very good. This is an action item.
Motion to accept the October 2018 financial reports as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the October 2018 financial report as presented. Any additional remarks, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 17, consideration of consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda items as listed.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items as listed below. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 18, correspondence miscellaneous. I had an interesting email from a company inviting us to a reception Thursday night in Williamsburg room, a colonial room, whatever, and I typed it in and it came up in Virginia, and then I remembered there's a Charles City, Virginia. So they had sent it to the Charles City School Board members in Iowa as opposed to Virginia, so that was an interesting correspondence. Sure. I don't know if anybody else got one. That. Important upcoming dates. November 14th, we have our convention, conference. November 21st, no school. Could be the first makeup day. No.
We don't speak that out loud.
Whoops, I'm sorry, it's me bad. November 22nd and 23rd, Thanksgiving holiday, no school, yeah. And November 26th, it's our next board meeting, and we'll be at the Floyd Community Center, and I would just ask Justin DeVore if he could just make sure the heat's on. Thank you. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting.